Yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited about today, guys. This is going to be a great one. Just pulling everyone in, pulling in my fabulous guest as well. And are we now live on Facebook? Facebook family, thank you so much for your patience, for coming in. Cannot wait to introduce my fabulous guest. He is definitely somebody that has so much wisdom, experience to, lend to all of us. I definitely look up to him in many capacities. And before I let him speak, I'm definitely going to be saying hello also to all of you guys on Instagram. Thank you so much for checking in with us. This is going to be a great 50 minutes, a lot to learn, not just me, but for you guys as well. So welcome to another edition of Open Chest with Raj Girin Live. Today's topic is how to pivot online and build a successful business. My guest today is noted award-winning serial entrepreneur Satish Balla, and here's like a little bit I want to share with you about him. The rest we're going to just have in conversation. So he was born in Chennai, lived in Singapore in his early years, and grew up in Toronto, where he currently resides. His journey has not been one of silver spoons or privileged opportunities, but rather one of creating a vision of himself from scratch, which aligned with his core value system that includes a strong work ethic, hustle hard mentality, and lifting up those who need it the most. During his 25 years in entrepreneurship, he has successfully built and exited 3 digital startups that he credits to his ability to market ideas, to build relationships and teams across Canada, India, and South America, and close millions of dollars of revenue. A couple of his noted credits are: 1, being the founder of Daisy Fest, Canada's largest and longest running South Asian music festival, which has raised over $2 million in private and public funding, has hosted over 50,000 visitors annually, while supporting over 500 artists since inception in 2007. 2, launching the Balla Group in 2019 to support minority and female entrepreneurs in building socially impactful emerging technology solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems. Please give it up for my friend, the fabulous Satish Balla. Thank you so much for making time to be on today, sweetheart. This is such a privilege and an honor to spend the next, 50 minutes with a man I admire.
Thank you, man. What an amazing introduction. I was getting goosebumps as you were, talking about it. And sometimes you kind of like take your own history, for granted, because you don't see all the positives. You see all the pains and the struggles. And then when somebody like you, who I admire, and you were so instrumental in my career, and we've talked about it, it's nice. And thank you so much for that wonderful introduction.
Absolutely, sweetheart. So there is so much I want to talk to you about. And, selfishly for myself and for the global community, I want to be able to garner some insights from, your many years of experience. So before we actually talk about, you kind of going into the realm of the calling of entrepreneurship, let's go back and get some perspective, Satish, on who you were as an identity prior to becoming kind of this, serial entrepreneur. Take us back to your early days. Maybe give us a few milestones to let us know how you've journeyed along on your personal endeavors to kind of, go from that immigrant mindset to kind of the man that you've become today.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I love talking about that, because I feel like so much of who I am today, in many ways, was an angry reaction to who I thought I was and the life that I was given. I was born in Chennai, and my parents being in chase of a better life. My dad comes from a big long family, like back in the days, like I think 11 siblings, and my mom's side is like no TVs back then, so they were busy babies. And I happened to be the leader of the clan, the first one born, which all of these are unspoken pressures. Yes. You didn't choose any of it. So they had this really big goal. The first son is going to be, this and that. And so I said, okay, when I'm born, very quickly they realized that I'm not the guy that they thought I was. And academically,
Right.
I wasn't that smart. And you know, the culture, academics comes first. And so from the age of like 2 or 3 all the way up to 14, you know, we moved from India to Singapore in chase of a better life.
Yep.
Uh, and and school and I never got along.
Right.
It's just something that never resonated with me. And partly because I'm always trying to figure out, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And today, you know, it's enlightenment and all this stuff. But back then, you're just a annoying, troubling kid. Because they're like,
Right.
I don't get it. I don't get it. What am I doing it? I wasn't like dumb or smart. I just chose not to care because I didn't understand it. And a lot of the learning disabilities that we know today, you know, weren't prevalent back then.
Right.
It
We
was
didn't know about them.
we didn't know about them. So they just
Yeah.
thought I was this troublesome kid that didn't know how to study. And they tried to beat it out of you. And
Right.
so for the first, I think, you know, 13, 14 years of my life, once my parents and the community couldn't figure out how to get me to be who they want, the easiest thing was to like ignore you and discount you. So
Mm-hmm.
the first version of my life was really confusing because I'm like, man, how come I suck at everything? How come the people I look up to, mom, dad, teachers, you know, relatives, are all telling me that I'm dumb and stupid? And then, of course, the icing on the
Wow.
cake, in Singapore, at the age
Mm-hmm.
of 13, you do a national test. And
Okay.
and the outcome of that test determines whether you're blue collar, white collar, what's your future. And so I took it.
Wow.
And of
Yep.
course, you know, a piece of paper comes from the government
Right.
saying,
It's
hey,
almost legitimizing everything, right?
yeah, the ultimate paper, like, you know, mom, dad, cool, I hate you, whatever, whatever. But then the little country sends a paperwork to your house saying, hey, your son is destined for a blue collar lifestyle. And my parents
Wow.
were crushed. For
Mm-hmm.
me, it was like, okay, if this is my destiny and everybody that said I am going to be this kid,
Yeah.
why would I doubt it? Because I don't doubt everything else they say. So everything else must be true. You
Yeah.
know, it's like going to a fortune teller, right? They'll tell like 5 good things and one thing that you don't like. And you're like, well, which one is true?
Right.
You know, so that was my headspace. And so in reaction to that report and sort of, you know, embarrassment, and they wanted to leave the country, we came to Canada. And
Wow. Really? I got to stop you a
yeah,
second. They left the country because of that.
oh, 100%.
Like,
Yeah.
what is the matter with our parents? That's a whole other show, but carry on.
100%, you know, because
Yeah.
it, they didn't know how to deal with it, being the
Right.
eldest son. And it's not just you know, the immediate circle of friends in Singapore who are not family, but there's a back home expectation of the first family that made out, the first grandson that's going to be the big thing or whatever.
Right.
Um, and, you know, I'm getting the ripple effect of all this negativity without understanding why am I getting all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and then we show up in Scarborough, and in my head, I'm like, look, I'm in a new country. If I stay quiet and if I shut up and I don't open my mouth,
Yeah.
how long can I get away without people discovering that I'm this dumb, stupid kid?
Right.
And so for the first couple of years in Canada, I just didn't open my mouth. And now you know
Mm-hmm.
me, I don't shut up. But
I
can you
can't imagine,
imagine?
I can't even imagine the version of you that you're telling me, knowing the version of you that I've known for the last, I believe, 18 odd years. Like,
Yeah,
they're not the same people for me. This is
100%.
why the perspective on that version of you is so important to tell the story of your success today, you know?
100%, 100%. And so for me, you know, one of the major milestones is giving myself permission to not want to be that guy. And there's a whole
Right.
bunch of things that happen that I can break through. But essentially for me, I have 2 lives. I'm 45 today.
Yeah.
So there's the 3 to 14 and the kid that got on a plane convinced that I'm destined for a life.
Yeah.
I didn't know if blue collar was good or bad. I just knew this is my life. This is my capacity. This is where I can go. This is how far I can go based on what the people told me. And we
Right.
got off. And then the 15-year-old in Scarborough met a different type of influence, different type of mentors, different type of language and label. And that version was completely different. And the only thing that changed in my life was I got on a plane.
Right.
because it
So
wasn't
can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, who were these
100%.
influencers? Like, and why did they impact you at that time when you've spent all your life being told that you are everything other than what you were being told now in Scarborough?
Yeah, and I'm a parent like you are, and
Yeah,
as I watch my own behavior, I realize, the first 4 to 5 years is when we encourage our kids to do everything.
yeah,
Jump between the couches, climb the tree, run free. You could do it. And then at
yeah,
some point we go into no, 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 don't do it. Oh, you're not good at it. You suck at it. What I experienced for almost 10 years of my life from the age of 3 or 4 is a
yeah.
negativity version where I was told what I'm not good at. Nobody told me what I'm good at, what I'm
Right,
capable of. So I show up in Scarborough. I'm now surrounded by a different ecosystem where they're saying, hey, you're a great basketball player. Did you know that? Or you've got this really cool, charismatic personality. Or we love how you tell stories. Or you're a natural leader. Or
right,
nobody's saying you're shitty in math or English or science. So I'm
right,
like, wait a second. If I'm potentially charismatic, have leadership qualities, I inspire people, I'm fun to be around, I'm a nice guy, you like me, you want to, then who's the other guy?
right,
And then if I believed everybody else because they were older and wiser, and the people telling me this new version of me are teachers and guidance counselors and other parents that are meeting me through their kids, and they're older and wiser,
mm-hmm,
well, who the hell is right now?
right,
And if both versions are created by other people
yeah,
and
yeah.
I get to believe it, well, at 15, I was like, what version do I want to believe?
You're
And that
right.
created the very first crack in my belief system.
Around
And
who you were and your worth.
and the ability to manifest whatever version I want. Because if I can believe your version or my parents' version, well, why can't I believe my own version?
Right,
And I've never asked that question before. Who am I?
right. And
And
when
at
did
the
you start asking that question, Satish?
grade 9, man, grade
Right.
9 changed my life because grade 8, we came in 1989, which
Yeah.
was the second half of grade 8. And I didn't speak a word to anybody because I was just like, hey, I don't want to let anybody know I'm dumb. So if
Right.
I'm just quiet, I can get by.
Yeah.
And then one of the first monumental moments in my life, grade 8, English, we were reading Macbeth. Everybody had to stand up and read. And I come from Singapore, so English is my first language. But
Right.
nobody knew that. They saw this Indian kid. They just assumed I'm from India and I don't know the language, so I'm shy because I didn't
Right.
know anybody. And the
Mm-hmm.
teacher, God bless her, said, look, today you're going to read. It's going to be 1 minute. You're going to read 2 pages. Even if
Mm-hmm.
you stutter, even if you can't and pronounce the words, you have to stand up and do it. And I
Boy.
was I was like 13th in the row, right? So everybody that got up to read a page, my heartbeat's getting louder and
Oh,
louder and louder, and I know I have to do it, and it felt like I'm gonna die because I'm
right.
about to stand up and do something in front of 13 people. Fast forward 20 years later, I'm in front of 100,000 people,
Dancing,
right?
encouraging them.
And so
Crazy.
I stand up, I open the book, I
Yeah.
read my 2 pages. What felt like an eternity was like 30 seconds. I sit down and there's like eyes looking at me. And I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm sweating. At the end of the class, the teacher's like, can I talk to you for a second? And so I go and she's like, look, you can speak English. And it was flawless and there was no accent. So why aren't you talking?
Wow.
And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I told her a little bit, and this is what happened, this is how I feel. And she looked at me, man, and she said, look, you got on a plane, whatever you believed, leave it at the airport. You can now believe a different set of story. And what I saw was a young man who stood up, beat his fear,
Yeah.
read something in front of a class, and that is the person you should start to believe in who you are. And that busted open everything about me, man. Like,
And what did you discover about yourself at that point, Satish? Like maybe some words that described who you were starting to become at that time.
I didn't think I had words, but I think I had this feeling of uh, happiness for the first time, that
Mm-hmm.
there's a potential for who I wanted to become, and that the life that I've been handed wasn't a solid, cemented rock, and that
Right.
the truth in my head is only in my head, and that my greatest gift is my mind.
Right.
And if I can learn how to harness it
Contrary,
and teach
contrary to
people.
what people were telling you, right?
Exactly. If I
Yeah.
can nurture it, if I can understand what's going on up here, then
Yeah.
can I control my own narrative? And nobody's ever said that's an option for me. I didn't
Right.
know how I was going to do it, but the fact that there's a potential became a very interesting opportunity for me. And for the rest of the next 20 years till
Yeah.
today, I've been life hacking
Mm-hmm.
and unlearning. And as fast as I learn new things, I have to go remove the first 14 years that's got this permanent stain,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's a constant battle, but I want to be in that battle because I win
Right.
more than I lose, and that's okay.
Right. So how much of that stain would you say at this point in your life have you been able to erase?
I think it's a shadow.
Okay.
I think I started off by trying to think about how to erase it, become a different person. And I realized I can't get rid of that person,
Right.
but I got to battle that person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fuel. When I'm too high on myself, because we all get that ego moment,
Yeah.
that version, the 14-year version, humbles me.
Yeah.
When I'm low, I see the change I've been able to make. And so I decided not to get rid of that person and suppress it, but really make it an ally. How can I live with my shadow?
Right. Wow. That's so profound. That's so profound, and it begs so many other questions. But I just want to make sure that, our global audience here is getting the value of what I know to be who you are. And I know that you're going to hate me saying this, but you're a brand. You're a brand in and to yourself because of all the different things that you've been able to accomplish. Now, I kind of want to, I want to give people kind of a view behind the velvet rope of some of the things that you've accomplished with these, just because these are things that you can't learn in school. Like,
Yeah.
there's no one out there teaching this in academia. And it's kind of a testament to what you talked about earlier, that academia wasn't your strong point. And thank God it wasn't, because maybe you would have been on a different track in your life at that time. Let me ask you this. Our parents, being immigrants, they have a specific mindset. They have the immigrant mindset where it's about survival, and they stay within a contained box that allows them to accomplish just that.
Right.
You and I have lived outside of that box because we're entrepreneurs, and we don't know how to fit into a box that's been created by someone else, even though we have both been brought up in that box. Can you share with everyone how you've kind of transformed yourself from the immigrant mindset narrative that our parents conditioned us with to this kind of abundance mindset of everything and anything is possible? If you can visualize it, you can find ways to accomplish it. Like, talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great question. And I think uh, it's a bit of a marathon, right? Creating
Yes.
belief systems doesn't happen overnight. Uh, Momentary milestones reinforce the belief system. So for me, the very first thing I needed to figure out is, what is my truth? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't get a lot of moments alone in life, right?
Right.
But the two moments that are alone for me that I guard is my mornings when I'm brushing my teeth and I'm getting ready. That's me and me.
Yeah.
No bull, no salesy things that we share with the world. This is just me and me. And
Right.
the few minutes before I go to bed is my most authentic moments of the day. And
Okay.
and for me, I seek the truth in that moment. Who do I want to become? What are my fears? Why do I want to become that person? And when we go back to this 15, 17-year-old version of myself, and I'm starting to ask these questions, I realize that if I can dream of a huge, amazing, valuable life,
Mm-hmm.
the skill at which I want to live that life, I'm not paying anybody to dream. I'm
Right.
literally dreaming myself, and there's no
Right.
cost to it. So why would I dream small? Let me think.
Right.
How can I be on a stage in front of 100,000 people? How can I build a great company that hires hundreds of people? How can I be international? How can I be the mayor one day? Why not? Because we're dreaming. And one way for me to really think about being abundant is challenging my brain to think of ideas that it doesn't understand. And one of the things I always talk
Mm,
about is when you dream small, when you play small, you battle your history, because your history is there to tell you all the things you can't do. Oh man,
right.
you're an immigrant. You can't do that. You're brown. You can't go far. You're 5'5". You're this. You're that. Right. So when you dream small enough and your history can line it up to go, nah, you've had 3 bad companies already. Why would you want another global company? Or you've had 19 club nights that are horrible. Why would you want to do a festival? Right.
Right.
But when you dream huge, and it's like, I want to be an international brand. I want to be a best-selling author. I want to be a mayor. I want to do big. Your brain doesn't know how to deal with that level of thinking. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I realized that, I started to really 10x on my goals.
Right.
So when I went to university, for example, I was like, okay, I'm getting an education, but where can I 10x? Well, why can't I be the student body president?
Right.
And this is early, 90s in Ryerson. There's not a lot of brown representation. I'm in computer science. I said, okay. So it took a year to build the brand, as you
Right.
said.
Right.
Uh, and then I ran for student body president and I won. And I was the student body president for 4th year at Ryerson,
Wow. That's
right?
great.
But if I wanted to just be a volunteer, or if I just wanted to, participate, my fear and my imposter syndrome and my 14-year-old would be like, nah, they're gonna not like you. You're dumb. You're not gonna happen. But when it's such a big idea, I wanted to be student body president,
Right.
the worst of my past can't hurt me.
Right.
It's a big enough idea. It's the same thing I did with Daisy Fest.
Right.
It couldn't be just a small banquet hall club night show. It
Yeah.
had to be young Dundas Square, center of the city, big. And we didn't want to just do Toronto. Our first 3 years was 4 cities.
Right.
Right? It was so big that my
Yeah.
history wasn't going to hurt me. And so I think, to answer your question of like, how do you develop this mind of thinking abundance, is to give yourself the confidence and believe in your truth, to dream big, and know that by dreaming big, you train your mind to not bring the fear forward because it's too big.
Right.
It doesn't know how to deal with it. And that starts the conversation in your head of, okay, if I can manifest this now, what do I got to do? What are my gaps that I need to get better at before I can get on a big stage or run a big company or become a student body president? It wasn't an overnight thing. I spent 12 months in 3rd year
Yeah.
getting ready for it for 4th year,
Right.
right? And so that's, sort of the secret sauce, man. You got to think much bigger than your capability. And then people will say, well, how do I think big? Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's
That
when
was
you
my
look,
next question.
right? And that's when you look for inspiration, right?
Right.
And
People who have.
100%. And
Yeah.
and this is now shout out to you. Like, one of the very few people that I reached out immediately for year 1 was you, right? I reached
Yes.
out to you. I reached out to Baba Khan.
Yeah.
Reached out to Mohit. I reached
Yeah.
out to Veronica, people that had no idea who I was. But I
Right.
said, hey, I've got this crazy big festival idea. You don't know me, but I respect what you've done, which is 10x where I was. Can I get some help? Can I get some
Mm-hmm.
advice? And everybody that I reached out to could have also said, dude, who are you? You're doing some club night things. We don't know who you are. Peace out. Or
Right.
say, man, I'm going to help this young person.
Yeah.
And then by pulling me into your world, I was able to now think like you. And I
Right.
was able to now manifest a bigger version I didn't know how to do myself. So that's my
Right.
second thing I tell people. You
Yeah.
dream big and then look for people that are already at that level and
Right.
reach out and say, I want to get there. Can you help me?
Right, exactly. There's so many key things that you said there. You talked about not allowing fear to overcome who you are and who you need to be, thinking bigger than you could possibly ever imagine that you could become, and then reaching out to people that can help you get to where you want to get to. There's so many important things that you said there, Satish, and it kind of really, you know, it gives you this real sense of the fact that at the core and the foundation of who you are as a person, as an identity, as a human, as a brand, as a man, is that you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So at what point, because this is something, as you know, South Asians, as any strong culture does, it pushes you into the kind of the safe zone, the corporate zone, right?
Right.
Why did you decide that entrepreneurship was where you needed to be, where your calling was, where the greatest impact is that you could have made, versus going the corporate realm, because you did get your degree?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. A series of things that led to it. The first thing was, by the time I was in university, I already realized that I wanted to continue this life hacking, meaning I'm never going to let somebody else tell me what I'm good at.
Right.
That was my first 14 years. And I've been breaking my roadblocks already. I'm studying things. I'm become, you know, student body president, all this kind of stuff. So I said, man,
Right.
why would I stop now and all of a sudden work on a resume so somebody who doesn't know anything about me will evaluate me on a digit, which is GPA,
Right.
and decide whether they want to give me a job or not.
Right.
Like, that made no sense to me. So getting a job was just, at my core, wasn't something I was interested in doing. What I didn't know is there was something called entrepreneurship. Back then, it was unemployment. I was like, man, I'm going to be an educated, unemployed dude, not sure what I'm going to do. And that was my thought, right?
Satish, I just wanted to mention to you that, you know, Lorraine 94 is saying, I'm inspired by you, Sats B.
I love Lorraine. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, man. And that was my thought pattern. So I was like, no, and you know, God's got a great way of reminding you, right? So in my moment of weakness, because my parents are pressuring me and things like that, I said, you know what, I'm going to apply. I'm going to make my parents happy because I've been such a rebel, torturing them most of my life. How do I help them? So I put a resume together, which really had nothing.
Right.
I'm doing pretty good in school, not top of the class. And I applied. I went to KPMG. They came for the tour thing, Anderson Consulting back then, which is now Deloitte and all these places. And the first person to respond back is KPMG. And thank God, because he was like, look, we see what you're doing, but the grade average is not there. You don't have a lot of extracurricular thing other than like basketball and music. You're not part of any computer clubs and all this stuff. You're not the right fit. And I was like, this is exactly why I didn't want to do this stuff. And this is exactly why I need the reminder that your opinion of what I'm good at is not important. Because what I'm hearing on the other side is, man, I'm a dope DJ. I'm playing basketball. I'm making money with club gigs, and I'm student body president. I've got contacts. I'm learning stuff. Like, why am I not going to sacrifice all that to sit in a cubicle?
Right.
So
but it's a hard decision, Satish, because, you know, it's like, it's giving up regular money versus the hope of a better life long-term versus the short-term. Like, how did you come to terms with that narrative in your head?
Well, I think because we grew up poor,
Mm-hmm.
I already knew how to live without much in life.
Right.
And so I didn't have a vision of what like living comfortable was yet. I didn't have a vision of having money in my pocket. So if I'm already in the dirt, staying there longer didn't really impact me.
Right.
You know, I was already living off hot dogs 3 times a day and ramen noodles for luxury. And so
I love it.
I didn't know what I was going to miss if I stayed unemployed and pursued my passion and just sort of stayed on this life hacking. I've also become at that point really addicted to the person I was becoming. By the time I'm graduating, this is like 1998, 99. I've had 10 years since the 15-year-old life hacking. I'm rocking parties. I'm confident. I'm talking to girls. I'm dating. I'm smiling. I've shaved my head. You know, I've got a different look. So I like that ability to constantly challenge my fears and attack something. And I felt like it was going to be dumbed down because I'm going to go chase a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Right.
And so I was convinced that I'm not going to get a job, but I still had to figure out how to make money. And one of the things that I wanted to do is look at, okay, if I'm studying computer science and
Mm-hmm.
everybody wanted to be a programmer, well, what can I do with the skill?
Right.
And that's where the entrepreneur hustle mindset, which we didn't know what it was back then, was called, said, okay, maybe I don't want to solve a company's problem. How can I solve everybody's problem? And this is the time when, like, there's a pre-Y2K, people are still using those yellow address books. And I knew that everybody needed to go online. So I said, okay, I'm going to figure out how to help a bunch of people move their
Yeah.
businesses online into horrible looking black and white websites. But I don't need a lot of money, so I'll charge. And maybe somebody who will hire me because of my other skills. So my fourth year, and this is a 5-year program, the
Yeah.
summer of my fourth year, I started calling people saying, hey, I'm in computer science. I know the future. Your
Right.
business better be online. And, you can pay me what you can pay me, or I'll give you a free website. And if you want a free website, then at the behind the invoice, I would put the list of all the other classmates. And I would say,
Right.
here's the other 159 people that are going to graduate with me.
Right.
If you like what I did, and if you're going to hire anybody for your business, hire me and not these 149 people.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, let's go there then, Satish. Let's talk about the 3 businesses you founded and successfully exited. I mean, that sentence alone begs like an entire show. But let's kind of encapsulate it so that, we can give some true value to people who are, tuning in. What were the businesses that you had, and how did you set them up to
Sure.
successfully exit?
Yeah, and let's also break down the idea of exit, because I think in
Yes.
today's unicorn chasing WeWork mindset days, the definition of exit is, oh, billions of dollars, you're out, and for me, the exit mindset from always the beginning is, how do I gracefully leave an idea
Yeah.
when it's no longer valuable to me, or am I valuable to it? So the
Yeah.
first experience was Spider Design, my very first company that I started in university. We started it for a variety of reasons. It certainly wasn't money, but it was to sort of life hack, self hack, learn how to pitch, sales, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But by the time we were finishing year 4, getting into year 5, it was already a couple $100,000 business without planning.
Wow.
But what I learned is I had no leadership skills. I had no idea how to build a team. I had no idea how to connect the solution and concept. So when we exited the company,
Mm-hmm.
we exited the company because we didn't know how to build a company.
Right.
And we had
Right.
profit. My 2
Yeah.
co-founders wanted to go start their careers and get just a nice hobby.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I want to go get a job now. Like, what's up? And I was like, man, so let's exit. Let's take our profit. We're debt free. We paid for university already, and go.
Wow.
So it was a very interesting exit because I graduated with a
Mm-hmm.
company as an entrepreneur with money in my pocket,
Yeah. No
more money
debt.
than I would at 20, and no
Yeah.
debt.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a successful exit, Satish.
you know,
There's people that exit at, multiple millions, even billions. You know this, I know this, right? That don't have a successful exit. They're still broke, and there's all kinds of other things going on in their exit. And that's the other thing that I wanted to bring to the table here, Satish. And I know that you're a testament to this, and you could speak to it a lot better than I can. But making money is not the only criteria for a successful exit. So
100%.
let's talk a little bit about that, because you kind of just did.
Yeah.
Can you kind of recap a little bit on, other than money, what else could be determined as a successful exit for those people out there who are in that place and don't know how to exit beyond the money side of things?
Yeah, 100%. And I think we become so emotionally tied to this invisible thing called money
Yeah.
that we feel like that's the be and all, end it all. So it's a great story for the second one, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to continue my entrepreneur journey. And there's another amazing timing happening. Y2K was happening. The
Yeah.
entire world was going to shut down. And I said, great, I have the technology and the background and the team to start a company to help companies not die during Y2K. So we
I
started another
love
company,
that.
and that turned into a quite a large company. But I was mentally ready for
Right.
that company because I've already figured out what I wasn't doing well in my first company. So
Okay.
now we're working on JD Edwards and SAP, and we're a global shop, and I've got 20 to 25 employees, and I'm sole CEO trying to figure out what to do. And the exit there was a sale to the
Mm-hmm.
partners, but more importantly, I exited because I couldn't find a way to be creative in my own business. It got
Right.
it got big enough where I'm now the money guy.
Right.
And I remember walking into the office one day and people are like, "Man, if we see you in the office, that means nobody's out there making us money." And I was like, "Wow." So I'm
Mm-hmm.
now the glorified sales guy, and my only
Right.
value to the company is money. I need to exit,
Yeah. I got
right?
it. Yeah.
Because the thing that we chase is the one that became my definition, and I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And all the other things that I was doing in the startup days, culture building, team building, value adding, strict, all of that was wiped out because I'm now the money guy.
Right. Oh.
And so we
And
exited.
that and even though that is a huge skill that you have, Satish, it's not the one that gave you the passion to
100%.
kind of keep that journey going as an entrepreneur, because that journey is it's not for everyone. It's not
No.
for people who don't have a creative mind and a fearless trust kind of mindset. It kind of sounds like a juxtaposition, like how can you be successful if if you don't put yourself in every area? But that's just not the way that you build things, and you're a
No.
testament to that. Because what I'm hearing you say is that with the first business, although you had this great idea and it was successful financially, you didn't know where to go with it next, so that exit was necessary, and it was a successful exit. This one, you did all those pieces that weren't there with the first one, you were able to manage to figure out for the second one. But then you became the corporate guy instead of the creative visionary entrepreneur that is inherently who you are on a foundational level.
Right. And I think what's awesome with that comment, and you and I talked about it, last time we hung out, was why do you want to be an entrepreneur?
Right.
Right? The thing that you cannot create a business plan for is monetary success. Anybody
Right.
that says here's a guaranteed business model, COVID has shown that to us.
Right.
The best business plans are only good in an idea. So for me, starting my
Right.
business was always about how can I become a better person? What are the skill sets I want to explore in my own terms? What are the things that I'm scared that I got to
Mm-hmm.
sort of put myself in a position? Like when I was kicked out during my second business because my parents didn't understand, why is this kid working and he's not home and he's driving and he doesn't have a job and he's out all hours at a time.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to deal with it, so they kicked me out.
Mm-hmm.
But the 21-year-old Satish didn't
Yeah.
have the financial literacy discipline yet, didn't know how
Right.
to take care of myself, cook, clean, and I'm mama's boy still,
I get
right?
it.
And now all of a sudden I'm like, wow, I got to learn how to live on my own and run a business and and know how to make money. But at the end of the day, I need to figure out how to become a better person, right?
Yeah.
So for
That's
me,
a lot of shit, babe.
yeah.
That's
So
a
for me,
lot to deal with.
I tell anybody who wants to get into entrepreneurship, identify how this business can make you better.
Mm-hmm.
And all the business that
Right.
I've started and helped me become better. And
Right.
then the bonus on top of that is you make money and you get to build a brand and all the stuff. But if tomorrow Daisy Fest dies or Valor Group is gone, I'll miss the business side of it, but you can never take away the person I've become.
Right. Or
Right?
the legacy that you left behind, sweetheart,
Yeah.
because it's the pioneers that created the foundation so that all other creators can see that I can too. We didn't have that. Like you and I, when we started in the game, we didn't have that other person that had done it. So we didn't
100%.
have kind of this rule book or guideline book to tell us how to do it, because someone else did it this way,
Right.
therefore, and they succeeded in it. So
Well, the only thing I
yeah.
like to add to that is
Yeah.
you didn't, but I had people like you.
Oh, babe, you bless me.
You
And
know,
along
and that's
my
the truth.
journey, well,
Yeah.
along my journey, how many things, you try and, you're not successful at. But, and I think this is the other thing that, I wanted to talk about as well, Satish, is, people fear failure. And as an entrepreneur, we fail more than we succeed if you look at it from semantics. But we succeed more than we fail because of the depth of growth and learning and wisdom, resources and opportunities that we garner along the road of this kind of perceived failure.
100%.
Give me your perspective on that. Challenges that you've had that, you've overcome, and how have you, it's
well, I think what you said is beautiful, because I haven't failed in anything in life.
Right.
Okay.
And we had this conversation,
right?
didn't we?
I failed in school.
Right.
Typing class, calculus. I failed in school because somebody said, hey, this is a mark you got to get. And if you don't get it, you fail.
Right.
But I haven't failed in life. I've continuously attempted a bunch of things with an outcome I desired.
Right.
And in some cases, I've achieved my desired outcome. In some cases, I haven't achieved the desired outcome, and I move on.
Right.
But you can't fail in life, because the whole point of life is to continue to try things and experiment and learn and give and take and share. And so we have to remove that narrative, right?
Right.
And so if we remove that narrative, then, and you can never fail, then where does fear fit in now?
Right.
And the easiest way to remove the fear is to remove the word failure, because what do we fear? Failure.
Absolutely. 100%.
Right? So
let's take you in a certain direction. For those people out there that are listening in, I'm talking to the fabulous serial entrepreneur, award winner, fabulous hustle man himself, my boy, Satish Bala. He is just an incredibly inspiring personality. Those of you who have had the pleasure of having him on this chat with me today know that there's so many directions I could take this conversation to, but I feel that, knowing who Satish is and knowing, why I do this show, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people get value from the things that we've accomplished in our lives, right, Satish? So with that said, for people listening and watching out there, can you share some tips based on your experience, the type they don't teach you in school, for two types of entrepreneurs? The first one is the one that is the brick and mortar business, and they're looking to pivot online, either to survive or to scale. What are some tips that you can give to that particular type of entrepreneur?
Yeah, and I think, across the board, whether you're bricks and mortar or not, or if that's part of your ecosystem, having a digital footprint is incredibly necessary. We live in a world where online access to your business is more important than having a street address.
Right.
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 And those of us that resisted have now been pushed to that. The pandemic has shown us, and some of the new behaviors that the pandemic created is not going to go back to normal. And so if you were resisting before, you kind of now have to be in that game.
So what would you say that they should do? Because they have no idea how to pivot from what they're used to being a physical entity. Like what
100%.
What are a couple of the things that they should be looking at?
So the very first thing you should do is map out your customers' touch points with you. Every different ways that a customer touch points with you. Start right from somebody has a desire for a product or service you're selling, right? So let's take an example of a pen, okay?
Okay.
At some point, somebody's like, man, I need to buy a pen because my ink is gone, or I hate this pen. So what do? Understand that first behavior. Do they go online and search? Do they ask a friend? Do they go on Instagram and look for a hashtag pen? How are they identifying they need something you're selling or offering?
Right.
Then look at, well, however they're going to try to find the solution, are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Or is somebody that you've already sold to there to tell them about you?
Right.
And number 3, if they now know that you exist and you've got the perfect pen, then why is your pen better than everybody else?
Right. The why.
Right?
Yeah.
The why part. Because somebody might say, hey, man, I got the shiniest pen. Somebody might say, I have the nicest color options. Somebody might say, mine is the bestseller for the book you're going to write.
Right.
but they're all pens with ink in it. So
Yeah. And
why?
they all give you a value proposition. It depends which one
100%.
touches you and that you're looking for, right?
100%. And there used to be this notion of like, hey, there's too many competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was true when the world is this big.
Right.
Today, your entire market could be Kenya,
Right.
because they love your pen more than anybody else in the world, right? And that's what globalization and the digital era has done for us. It's created markets for us that typically would only be your neighborhood, only your closest friends know about you, right? So
Right.
that will be the next step to go, hey, why should they buy my version versus everybody else?
Right.
And then once they are convinced that they should buy from you, am I making it really easy for them to buy from me?
Mm-hmm.
I see so many companies where their mobile sites are horrible. Their buy
Right.
button is tiny and hidden. Can you make it super, super, super obvious that I want to
Right.
buy a pen? I came to your site, and in 3 seconds, I've bought it. And then,
Absolutely.
as soon as I commit to a relationship with you, can you over invest in my well being somehow? Are you
Right.
following up? Are you checking on? Are you taking care of my problem? Right?
Right.
All of this we used to do in the scope of a retail. Somebody walks in, you know them. Hey, what's up, Raj? Welcome back to the store. That relationship, it gets built over years of time.
Right.
But now that relationship is still available with Raj, but she wants to do it on Instagram. She wants
Right.
to do it on Facebook. She wants to do it on Twitter, right? And there's also this misconception that everybody needs a website. No.
Right.
If your audience loves being with you on Twitter, you have no reason to have a bloody website. Go
Right.
all in and live where you can solve a problem. And really, the point of being in business is to solve a problem,
Right.
not because you have an address or a business card, to solve a problem. So where can you solve the most amount of problem, which will lead to the most amount of money?
Right. Absolutely. Wow. That's a lot of information, guys. I hope you are scribbling it all down or recording it. But if you're not, don't worry, because this will be resident in another day or so on IGTV here at Raj Girin, and also on the Facebook Raj Girin. You'll see it there as well. So don't worry if you're missing out on writing all this down, because like me, you're just kind of enthralled and encapsulated by every single word coming out this wonderful man's mouth. Don't worry, it's all recorded, and you'll get the opportunity to stop and write as you please in another couple of days when we put this out and post it indefinitely. The second type of entrepreneur, Satish, because I know that we are getting very close to running out of time, is the entrepreneur that wants to do a startup but has no experience, but has the best bloody idea that the world didn't know they needed, that he or she wants to put out there. A few action steps to doing it in the right order, because that's also
100%.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And, my business, if I can self-plug for a quick second, that's where I wanted to focus most of my attention. When I sold the company and I was like, what do I do next? I realized so many people from our community, people of color, minorities and female founders,
Right.
the 0 to MVP is a cultural roadblock for us. We don't have any support. We don't have any blueprint to follow. Once we make it a little bit, everybody wants to line up to amplify.
Right.
There's not enough people in that 0 to MVP, and you know exactly what I'm talking about,
I do.
right? And so in that space where you're like, man, I have an idea and I want to get it into the world, I ask everybody I meet two things. One, ask yourself 5 times in a row, why do I want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
The first one will be fluff. The second one will get a little bit deeper. The third one will be the version that you think everybody wants to hear. The fourth and fifth is when you really get detailed into why you want to start this business.
Right.
It's no longer about you. It's no longer about your family. It's no longer about the ego. It's about, who do I really want to serve?
Right.
And most entrepreneurs that do it for the wrong reasons get anxiety and frustration and angry by the time they get to the fourth why.
Right.
Because the answer is not deep enough, right? So I always tell everybody, if you get to the 5, you've got a good starting point. The
Right.
second is really invest the time and energy to go to market with something that you can test to see if the solution you're bringing to market, somebody will buy. In our coaching practice, we have a 0 to 90 day practice where if in 0 to 90 days, we can take a version of the solution, put it into market, and
Mm-hmm.
sell it, and somebody will buy it, forget it.
Okay.
Right? So you have to do the 90-day test, because if you can't sell something in 90 days, not enough people want it. If
So
those
let
two
me ask,
steps,
so I got to ask you this. I got to ask you because I know that the whole world out there is going to want to know. How can people contact you for this? Like this, and what are the other things that people can contact you for? Let's just put it
100%.
out there.
Yeah, 100%. Look, my entire purpose going for my 5 whys is to take all of my scars and blueprints and I want to help as many people as possible get past their little 14-year-old version, the
Mm-hmm.
person that holds them back. I want to help you live with that person. I want to help you figure out how you don't have one life. You can live as many lives as you want if you have the courage to dream it and put in the work. And you and I know you got to put in the work.
Got to put the work in.
You can't manifest stuff by sitting in a room saying, "Oh, I want some stuff." So Bala Group, which we launched a couple of years ago, that's
Yeah.
literally the program. Whether
Okay.
you're starting a company, whether you're pivoting from 9 to 5 to your own company, whether you started a company and you're stuck and you don't have a blueprint or a representation you can follow, that's what we're set up about. My goal is to get 100 people of color and minority and female founders into that $1 million category so that we can change the game from inside. We can change the game from the other side of what success looks like and create that opportunity for other people. And so if you're stuck, if you need mentoring, if you need help, you need a blueprint,
Yeah.
or if you need to just be around people that know what you're going through, that's what I do. You can connect through Instagram. I mean, I've made it a priority to openly and share as much as I can. So I'm as public as it gets.
Yeah, you are. And you are there daily sharing your wisdom with people. Satish, other than your social media, how else can people get hold of you? Is there a website?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
where do they need to go to be able to get more from you?
Yeah, head to ballad.group and all of our podcasts, all of our blogs, all of our free things. We're doing a 7-day gratitude challenge right now for free. Really, in 7 days, you can change your entire mindset. And if you do it in 7 days, you'll do it for the rest of your life. And being grateful every morning is a game changer. And I already know you know this.
Yes, I definitely do, sweetheart. And, you know, we've come to the end of our chat and you know that you got to come back, but there's so much more that we need to talk about. Before I let you go, just so people can understand in a nutshell what it means to be transformational for yourself. And you need to understand that before you can change anyone else's lives. That 14-year-old version of you, Satish, if you were to describe that person in 3 words, just 3 words, who was he?
Confused, ashamed, and scared.
Today's version of Satish Balla in 3 words. Who is he?
Optimism, love, and hope.
And a man that I truly respect and I adore. And I thank you so, so much for the time that you've spent with me. I just feel that we have so much more that we need to talk about with you. Come on again. Come on again,
Anytime, man.
because, I just feel that everybody needs some more Satish Balla in their lives.
I appreciate your time, and it means a lot that I got to spend some time with you in these crazy times, man.
Absolutely, sweetheart. And for people like you and I, it's so hard.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
so hard to be social distancing, even
I
for
know.
one day, let alone for pretty much a whole year. But it is what it is. And we get to see each other and share beautiful time together like this. And I want to do it again. And thank you so much to the Instagram family and to the Facebook family. Please go out. I encourage you to go and support Satish. Check him out on all his social medias. He's on there every day giving free advice, guys. You got to do it. And if you want more, just go to his website. What is it again, Satish?
Bala, or as you said, Bala
Bala.
dot group.
Wonderful. Thank you, my love.
Thank
Thank you
you
so much
so
for your
much.
time. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.